Very good morning to you. Thank you, everyone, again for joining us here on Global Morning. I'm Uyi Agmofwegbe. I'm grateful for the gift of life, as always. I'm sure Priscilla Obasi is also grateful for the blessing of another day. You know, they say, well, today is the tomorrow we talked about yesterday.
Actually, well, we don't have a choice but to be grateful.
Right.
I mean, they say life is a gift. And whenever you find yourself alive again, it's the best thoughts you can have is how to maximize the gift called life. So It's a beautiful day, and good morning to our viewers out there. Good morning to you. Trust you had a good night.
Yes, I tried as much as I could, but I mean, good night is relative, right? But again, we're grateful for the life that we have and the much you're able to do with it. You know, talking about gratitude, by the way, I was listening to radio on my way back home yesterday after work, and then this guy was talking on radio about that lady who got bitten by a snake. I was almost going to say serpent. All right.
And then, of course, at this point.
She died, yeah, because she died, obviously, from that attack. He was basically talking about her funeral, how that she had been laid to rest, friends and family, colleagues had come to pay their last respects. You know, the whole thing just became fresh again in my head. And I mean, at that young age, life full of promise, cut short. And then you still have people who are alive and don't even know what to do with their life.
I'm telling you.
You know, the life that they have and things like that. It's such an irony, you know, if you ask me, and a very sad reminder of how much we are not doing, about certain basic things.
Exactly. The irony of it is sometimes when one eventually leaves this world, it now looks as if you are leaving a mark.
Right.
Because people start to talk about you. The era of social media, you start to trend and all of that. I heard that she was invited just before her passing for a UEFA performance.
I heard that, but I took it with a pinch of salt.
I heard so sometimes you don't know the impact you have left until you eventually leave. So we should be very cautious of leaving an impact. I think it's a big lesson to learn from her story. And as you say, be grateful. Sometimes gratitude is the fuel you need to actually, make an impact. When you live your days worrying, being sad, you're not gathering enough momentum and energy, to live a happy life and to live and, create an impact eventually. So gratitude is key, and whatever we do, be conscious of the fact that it's a temporary place we are in. One day you're going to leave and leave a mark, an indelible mark. Yeah.
Well, speaking of leaving a mark, yesterday there was a bit of a drama again because the former governor of Kaduna State eventually honored the invitation extended to him by the Anti-Graft Agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. We understand there was drama at the entrance because the operatives would not allow his supporters go in with him. Of course, like somebody jokingly said on the internet, why would they allow them go in with him? He was elected alone as governor, all right? He served alone as governor, all right? He was the chief executive of Kaduna State for 8 years all by himself. So he has been invited in his capacity as someone who has spent 8 years serving his people to come now give account of his stewardship for those years. Therefore, is a one-man kind of move.
The question is, why is the EFCC inviting him now?
So you're thinking it's late or it's ill-timed?
Why didn't they invite him all the while? Why did they wait for him to make some kind of statement? Or is it that his statement made them do a research?
Okay, so I think we need to also put this in perspective. Yeah. I know, yes, we all have concerns about how the EFCC operates most times, right? But we must also understand that the EFCC is run by human beings with blood in their veins, and they are first Nigerians. Before anything else. They are products of our system. We can't pretend about that, not even on live television. But having said that, my colleagues and I sat down with the head of media and publicity at the FCC, Mr. Dele Oyewale, a great guy, by the way. So we asked him several questions about all of these issues, off camera and on camera. He said we have to be fair to Malam Nasir El-Rufai, that the commission had already extended an invite to him long before now. And the man gave his word that he would honor the invitation on the 16th of February 2026. that in his word, it will be commonsensical, that was the word he used, to only expect that for such a man who had given his word, there shouldn't be any sort of harassment or something. I mean, he was even saying that to basically debunk the speculation in the public space that the FCC had attempted unsuccessfully to arrest him at the airport. That there was no need for that. The man already said, look, I'm out of the country. When I come back, I will honor your invitation on so-and-so day, at so-and-so time, at so-and-so place. Therefore, I mean, why would you be getting ahead of yourself and things like that? So I think that settles that. Besides, the FCC can also advance, even though nobody has had that conversation with me, that look, the whole time we had to do due diligence, be sure that we were armed with all the facts we needed and things like that. Because when we spoke with him yesterday, like you can see on the screen right now, he told Global Television that as of the time we're talking with him in his office, that the former governor of Kaduna State was being interrogated by a team of investigators right there at the headquarters or the head office of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. So what that simply means is that the FCC is doing its job. Of course, we must hold the commission accountable. We must hold it to account in terms of how it does its job. But again, what we understand is that he was detained the entire time. So this might just be day 2 for the former FCT minister.
Exactly. I heard he had a sleepover. We call it a sleepover.
We have to be euphemistic about these things. Otherwise, we just say he was locked up for, overnight.
Well, technically, that is what appears.
It is what it is.
But I still ask, why do we always wait, or why do this anti-corruption agencies wait for when one person holds you on a case, and then you now see all of them springing up left, right, center? We want to also come and check. He said, why haven't you done an investigation? This governor or past governor has left office for almost 4 years now.
Right.
Yeah.
No, not well. It's almost 3 years.
Yes.
By May 2019, it will have been 3 years.
It will be 3 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long time, right? It's 2027. It definitely will be 4 years. So if he has spent year 1. If you want to probe after any past leader or governor, the first thing to do is when they leave the office, you start to do your findings, right? Because that's the right time to know, why did this person leave? You get the whole information is still very fresh. Because someone is just coming into power. So you're able to track things really fast, and you get a good detail of whatever information you're looking for. And
that way, the chances of compromising evidence will also be very minimal.
So, but you wait for almost 3 years, and then you wait for some other body to come hold him, or some agency or some parastatal to say, okay, this person, we're looking for him. And all of a sudden, you see EFCC come up from the left. Another set come up for the right, and it's funny, really.
Talking about another set coming up, we understand the DSS has already charged him. So there's a pretty good chance, just like we saw with former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami, that he would also be, well, let's say invited, but I'm afraid it might be a pickup by the DSS. So it's just going to be one thing after another.
Back-to-back.
Right.
And it really sounds, I mean, it might appear as though, okay, we're doing our job, but there's something off about it for me, really. Okay. It's not
you think we can do better, right?
We can do better. If we want to say we're fighting corruption, let's fight it. Let's people, Nigerians know that indeed we're fighting it. Right now, it's just looking fishy. It's looking like you're trying to score a point.
That is concerning.
It's concerning. So everything just looks all, planned out by some entity. I don't know, but really it's not
with political interest.
It's not sitting well. It is not sitting
but
well.
The good thing, I like to take people by their word. On behalf of the commission yesterday, Mr. Dele Oyewale did say that the FCC will bring to bear in this instant matter it's pedigree. That was the word he used. I'm trying to be very careful. All right, it's pedigree in terms of how it does its job, its rules of engagement, its professionalism, fairness to all parties involved. So I think those are the benchmarks against which we can now assess how the EFCC would walk through this case.
I'm not trying to side former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai. No, I'm not trying to,
But you are saying we are not proactive.
I'm not. That is exactly what I'm saying. We're not proactive enough, and at this point, it doesn't look professional again. It looks all scripted. It looks all.
You think this is about 2027?
Well, it's obviously looking like that. Why are we having such a conversation at the peak of, election discussions and all of that. Everything is pointing towards 2027. We know that Madam Nasir El-Rufai has his grievances with the current administration, with the current government.
That goes without saying.
Exactly, based on what they, did to him. For I know anyone that really has a heart, that it's not fair, right? Yeah.
So now you think he has been trying to grant an axe with the current administration?
We've seen him make statements. We've seen him come out to make utter statements, very big statements. So it's clear that there is an ongoing rift. It is obvious that there's an ongoing rift, and this whole, I don't want to call it staging, but it's appearing as it is, right? It's just pointing towards the fact that it's a continuation, it's a power tussle of some sort. I really do hope that if they are fighting for corruption indeed, we will find out eventually.
Right.
We will find out, because everything will point towards corruption. But if they are not, it will also be clear to Nigerians.
Right. I think we need to also clear something, because from the way we operate in this country, government, citizens, and institutions, including the EFCC, DSS, ICPC, NAFDAC, CBN, and the courts, the judiciary, you realize that this cycle is never going to get broken. This cycle of it was politically motivated is a witch hunt. My political opponents are at work. It's being sponsored by my detractors and all of that. But for me, I think the ultimate and grand question is, do we have evidence against this person? For example, let's even assume, without conceding, that some political, if you like, heavyweights are the ones behind this predicament or ordeal of Nasir El-Rufai. Behind, in fact, the invitation extended to him by the EFCC. Should we not be more concerned about how much of evidence or lack of it that the EFCC has in prosecuting this case? If the EFCC has evidence, for example, enough evidence, overwhelming evidence to prosecute this case, if the DSS has enough evidence to prosecute him on different charges, should we be bothered about who is motivated and who is not motivated? I think those pieces of evidence should override any other consideration.
Well, I think the motive should override every other thing, because when you're doing a thing with a different motive to solve a problem, you never solve that problem.
So even if the motive is personal, is selfish, is political, and then we conversely have enough evidence, we should let it slide just because?
No, we're not letting anything slide. No, it's looking at the situation thoroughly. Madam Nasir El-Rufai is coming out, he's making his own claims.
Right.
So if you're talking about
which he is responsible for authenticating.
Exactly. So the evidence is not just, when we're talking about one bringing evidence, it's not a one-sided thing. If we're making it fair to all, if we want to fight corruption, then we'll say everybody come out with your evidence.
But are you aware of the amount of money he's alleged to not have been able to account for while he was in the saddle as governor of Kaduna State?
We're saying the same thing. Whatever it is that he's been prosecuted for, the evidence should be tendered and
to him, and then he also has the right to defend himself.
Whatever he is alleging to, he has the right to tender his evidences. Yes. So if we say we're fighting corruption,
but isn't that the reason the FCC didn't arrest him? They invited him to say, "This is what we have against you. You come explain, and let's straighten things out." Is that not fair enough?
It's fair enough, but we must get to the root of the whole matter.
Okay. No, we're just getting started, so I think it's too early, so we don't again get ahead of ourselves.
Well, I'm just saying so that the case is not tilted one side,
or swept under the carpet.
Swept under the carpet, or even tilted one side. Is now focused on what he has done. Yes, while we're trying to tackle what he has done.
How about some of the weighty allegations he made? Can we also probe into all those ones?
That's what I'm saying. Let us fight the corruption thoroughly and not leave any stone unturned. That's basically what I'm saying.
All right. Incidentally, we are bringing those stones to the program this morning. But the point that Priscilla is making is very crystal clear. Institutions must be seen to be accountable. They must lead by example. And they must, by all means, without apologies, be fair to all parties involved, especially in these sensitive times that we live in, where we are not so sure what is what, which is which, why, who is doing what. I mean, like she mentioned, the issue of motive. And in law, motive is grand. A case can take a radical turn just simply on the basis of motive alone. But let's also just let you know, we'll be looking at the council election, area council elections that will be happening this weekend, this Saturday precisely, 21st of February, across the Federal Capital Territory, all 6 area councils. But our focus this morning will be basically AMAC, where, of course, is central to this cycle of polls. And then we'll be looking at the role of legislature in a democracy. Time and again, we hear that the legislature in Nigeria is a rubber stamp. In the case of state assembly, they say, well, it is tied to the apron strings of governors. At the national level, they say it is the president who calls the shots. And the 10th National Assembly has again become, if you like, front and center in this sort of conversation. We'll look at all of those for you as well. But let's take a break now. So much more to come on the program. Do stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
So many thanks for joining us once again on Heart to Heart Inspirational. We just want to inspire you, encourage you. And of course, my name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Now, do you know that there is this belief that everyone feels that they are behind? You ask a lot of people, and some people even tell their colleagues, their neighbors, their friends, their family members that they are behind. But let me tell you something right here. I want to start by correcting that lie that many of us have believed for too long. It's been a long time that a lot of people believe this lie. I want to say it is a lie, okay? It depends on what I want to say now. When someone say, I'm late, I'm late. And a lot of people have crashed out of destiny. A lot of people have mixed it in life because they feel I'm late. Hey, she's married, I'm not married. Oh my God, she's rich, I'm not rich. Oh, she's gotten admission, but look at me right here. But nobody is saying, oh, she's dead. Why am I not dead? Has anybody said that? Nobody is saying, oh, some of my mates are mad. Why am I not mad? I should, they don't tell themselves that they should be mad also because somebody is in their category or at their age level is mad, or maybe probably late or dead. Why are you not saying, all right, you should be dead or you should be mad? The same way you're thinking that, oh, you should be rich because the other person is rich and you are of the same age grade or classmate or something or neighbor, whatever. That's the reason I said it's a lie. When you are being forced to believe that you are late. And a lot of people, because they feel they are late now, they do nothing anymore. Because that is their mindset, because that's what they believe. But then I should further let you know this. Others ahead of you doesn't mean that you are late, because you are also ahead of someone. That's it. But hear me clearly today that you are not behind. All right. We live in a world obsessed with a lot of comparison. Social media shows us edited victories. A lot of victories you see, a lot of successes you see on social media are edited victories. All right. In the real sense of it, you meet some of these people one-on-one, you will be shocked. Hey, come on. Is that the person I see on social media? It is edited victories. All right. There are a lot of people that are living with struggles, but they come on social media and they paint everything like they don't have any issue. You see some families not doing well, some husband and wife not doing well, then you see them on social media, it will appear as if they are the best couple in the world. I'm not saying you should show, all right, the ugly situations you're facing in your family. It's not everything you bring on social media. I'm aware of that. But then you don't need to pattern your life based on what you see on social media. All right. That has made a lot of people get into some acts that they are not supposed to get into. If you see some people's resolution for 2026, you would be shocked. A lot of people want to be successful because they feel they are late. Someone just told me, today that, well, he traveled, and you see a lot of people, just little boys who have involved themselves in one or two things, driving big cars, and the people who are doing genuine and legitimate things don't even have that kind of car. That's a wrong comparison, if you ask me, though the person didn't fall for what they were driving. He didn't fall for it, and he was sharing with me today. But we need to know that there are so many things that have happened behind the scene with someone else's highlight reel and conclude would fail. But life is not a race. Life is a journey with different routes, all right, different terrains and different timings. So if it is not your route, if it is not your terrain, if it's not your timing, and you want to force it, you may miss it, you may crash. If you go up too early, you may crash very early. A lot of people have faced that in the past. Some people are blown early and some fade early too, and others are slow-born successes. Some start strong and crash, others struggle quietly and rise suddenly. Timing is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of design. That time you're taking your time, it's as if you are in the workshop. Very soon you come to the showroom and people will be wondering, where has he been? He was in the showroom having wilderness experience, putting himself together, refining himself, designing himself so that he can come out successful. You know, there are times that you need to be alone, sit alone, think positively, and know what to do per time. You don't run after people. People's successes shouldn't derail you, shouldn't make you miss what you are supposed to do. Because as a matter of fact, what looks like delay is often development process. What feels like waiting is often preparation. And you have been equipped emotionally, mentally, and spiritually and strategically for what you are about to handle. So nobody should tell you that you are late, that you're not married yet. Doesn't mean you're not going to get married. That you're not rich yet doesn't mean you're not going to get rich. It's all about times and season. Except if you're not positioned well. For every proper positioning, there would always be a proper positioning. If you position well, you possess well. If you arrive early without capacity, without success, you will be destroyed. Because you can only, let me tell you something, you can get to the top, but what keeps you at the top is your character. All right, if you don't have character and charisma, one day you would be displaced from the top. So you need to prepare yourself very well for every success that you're thinking of in your heart. If it is in your heart, it will get into your head and one day it will enter your hand. But if you get it fast without wisdom, you would lose it faster. Okay, let me just give this illustration. Think of an aircraft, for instance, before takeoff. It accelerates on the runway for a very long time before it gets off the track and fly and leave the ground. If it doesn't maintain that timing on the runway for that number of time, it can never accelerate. So that period that you are time is the preparation period for your takeoff. So don't allow anyone discourage you or tell you that you are late, you are behind, or whatever. To the untrained eye, it looks like delay, but without the runway, the plane cannot lift. Some of you are still on the runway, but lift is coming, lift is coming, you will be lifted. So what do you have to do? Okay, stop comparing yourself. The comparing chapter, you should close it. And stop apologizing for your pace. You don't owe anybody any apology for your pace, because it's only you that know what you are cooking. Start now as we speak, trusting your process, because any process you don't trust cannot work for you. Like I tell people, you don't sit under an imam that you don't believe in. You don't sit under a pastor that you don't believe in. All right? Because whatever, if the pastor is pronouncing blessing and you don't believe in that pastor, it is a cause for you. The same thing for the imam too. All right. So whatever process you don't believe in, any system you don't believe in, you don't have any business, all right, staying under that system. Delay, like they say, is not denial. And it is preparation in disguise. So you are not behind and you are not being aligned. And when your time comes, you won't just arrive, but you will be ready. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. And remember that you are a success going somewhere to happen. Don't allow anyone talk you down. Don't allow anyone tell you that you are late. Your time is coming, and that's the best time for you. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye for now.
All right, right now we dive straight to the newspaper review segment, and we're starting with the Vanguard newspaper. First story above the nameplate: inflation rate eases marginally to 15.1% in January. Visa fraud overstays by Nigerians may attract stricter scrutiny, and that's coming from the US. Details on page 8. Boaz MOU with Abu Dhabi Ports, Mar Groups. Tinubu hails Nigeria UAE industrial breakthrough. Details on page 8. Next story: 2027 political class leveraging chaos to undermine elections. And that is coming from Itodo. You find details on page 4. At first oil event for Dawes Island Marginal Field, okay. EFCC quizzes El-Rufai over alleged 432 billion naira fraud. That detail is on page 7. Well, I still ask, why is this coming now? Whatever the case, we want to see the end of it. 3 South Africans charged over murder of Nigerian boat driver. That is serious. You want to read up that detail on page 6. A sad one there. To the Star story: Electoral Act, hide and seek game in Abuja as reps avoid joint meeting. Okay, so I heard the Senate versus the rep are having different opinions.
Yeah, yes, they are not in convergence in terms of the Electoral Act. Right.
So there seems there looks is appearing as though there is an avoidance of meeting each other.
So he calls it hide and seek.
Hide and seek. Interesting. There are some riders to that. You want to read up details to get yourself acquainted with that story. Social media network X back online after global outage. Really? Oh, really?
They had a downtime.
Yesterday. Okay, you find out details on page 8. 2027, NSCIA demands review of election timetable. I wonder why. But find out details on page 26. 3.7 million IDPs. Federal government rules private sector for durable solutions. Details on page 9. I think those are the headlines. Those are actually the headlines for the Vanguard newspaper. Read up to get yourself acquainted. We go now to the Blueprint newspaper.
Well, thank you. But let's take a look at the blueprint for you. First off, above the nameplates, it says, Kano State Government Lord Tinubu, as federal government APC governors, donates 8 billion naira to single markets fire victims.
Uh-oh.
Look out for Ramadan moon from today, Sultan tells Muslims. A bit of business here. Dangote Group spotlights Vision 2030 at Kaduna Trade Fair. And sports, Iran targets pre-World Cup friendly with Super Eagles. Modern tax systems must be data-driven, automated. That's according to the Nigeria Revenue Service boss. NSA phone bug. DSS drags El-Rufai to court. Reopens 2019 probe of Dati Atta's kidnap. Explains seizure of ex-governor's passports. DHQ confirms arrival of U.S. troops to support Nigerian military. You know, that has been causing some controversy too. We're hearing that at least 100 soldiers from the U.S. are being deployed to Nigeria's north. Nigerian government says they are not combatants. They are not here for combat. They are only here to give logistics-based technical support to their Nigerian counterparts.
Okay, so Nigerian soldiers are going to be at the forefront.
Well, they're just going
to be
help them with share experiences, compare notes, give them as much support as possible. They are not here to be engaged in any sort of combat. That's the point the Nigerian government is making.
Interesting. Interesting.
Well, we see how this unfolds, all right?
Yeah.
With Ribadu's bold, honest commitments, will defeat terrorists. That's credited to the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu. Lord's Fintri on projects. There are speculations that Governor Amadou Fintri of Adamawa State might be decamping anytime soon, but again, we'll leave that in the realm of speculation. 1 year after, late Edwin Clark's vision remains aglow. That's according to Pandef. Katsina DPO killed in anti-rustling operation. So sad. That story has details on page 5. Solar, Captain Luca empowers 23 Nigerians with toolboxes. Apprentice kills master, injures wife with pestle at Onitsha drug market. This is quite a sad story. And you know, stories like this always have a background to them, even though the details are on page 10. But what can we say? Quite a sad development, no doubt. We'll read up details of all of these headlines from the Blueprint newspaper today. Our next port of call is the Guardian newspaper.
Okay, so on the Guardian newspaper, quite looking like an interesting read. We'll start with the first story. ISWAP commander failed. ISWAP commander failed in Borno as U.S. sanctions 8 Nigerians over links to Boko Haram cybercrime. Okay, I know that now that we have some of the U.S. Army in Nigeria, we begin to see results from the Nigerian Army somehow.
You mean something positive, right?
Of course, of course. Rising insecurity heightens concerns in South. Details on page 4. Kwankwasia defectors. APC adopts 60:40 formula in Kano. Okay. Details on page 3. We saw the current governor of Kano State defect officially
yesterday
in a grand style,
and it was pomp and celebration.
Exactly. So I don't know if you've witnessed such kind of defection in Nigeria before.
This is probably the biggest in terms of the razzmatazz around it. A bit of drama as well.
Exactly. So I know interesting times ahead with the APC versus the Kwankwasia movement in Kano State. But we'll bring you all of those details on global television, of course. We'll go to the big story. 2027, protesters storm National Assembly as debate on Electoral Act resumes. Okay, there was a protest yesterday.
Yes, there was.
And it didn't seem to be as loud as I'm sure they wanted it to be because of the El-Rufai drama by this side because we also
Right.
saw some of El-Rufai people, El-Rufai's people protesting. So there was someone I asked, there's a protest ongoing. No, the only protest is aware of is the El-Rufai protest. So I don't know how the protesters will feel, but I'm hearing that the protest continues today.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. You know, it's just part of democracy, really. When people demonstrate like this peacefully, as we have seen the last couple of weeks, National Assembly has become more like a pilgrimage site of some kind because of different kinds of protests we have seen. Some are protesting and pushing home their demands regarding the, the reserved seats for women. Others are saying, no, we are here to talk about this issue of real-time online transmission of results. Others are saying, no, our interest is to come here and let's remind this legislature that it has a job to do. It cannot continue to be a rubber stamp. You know, everybody's just coming to, drive home their demands. And you see, it's the reason politicians, both those in Aso Rock and the ones who have their abode, at the National Assembly, must understand that it is first about the people. If the people are complaining about so many things that are basic over a long stretch of time, it's only a highlight at the very least that a lot of things have been left undone.
Exactly. Yes. The good thing about this is we don't see any form of violence between protesters and security.
Totally peaceful.
It's been peaceful.
Totally peaceful.
And, way to go. Okay, so we'll take it now to the next story. TGI Group partners RCPL to offer quality FMCG product at affordable prices. Details on page 47. Next story. Reps demand federal government 3-year financial statements. Okay, I don't know what this means though, but you want to find out details on page 2. Nigeria is an interesting country. FCT polls. ADC berates Wike over war threat. Okay, Wike has been a bit absent.
Lately, right?
Lately, the whole FCT, one would expect that as the FCT council elections are fast approaching, we'll just hear Wike here, there.
All over the place.
At least supporting a party.
Even taking a shine off of the candidates.
Exactly. But he has just, maybe he has weightier matters to attend.
Yeah, or maybe he's supporting from the sidelines. But I know something he said a few days ago, credited to him actually, is that he will only support candidates who support and are loyal to President Tinubu. So the man has clearly given his condition for supporting any candidate at all.
That's concerning the current...
Yes, they cancel polls. So, and you know what that means?
Well, we've not seen him at least back the APC candidates.
Maybe he has not been going for rallies with them and all of that, but support can come in any form. No, maybe moral support.
It's unlike Wike. Is it that he doesn't have it? He's scared of loyalists to get a
Who knows? Maybe the stakes are also lower for him.
You know, with the whole Mubarak crisis, Wike will be scared to have another person.
Once bitten, forever shy.
Once bitten, forever shy. It's interesting.
And you know the man says he doesn't like ungrateful people.
Exactly.
He believes that Governor Fubara is ungrateful. So why would you expect him to create more ungrateful people? Right.
Okay. Well, you want to find out that detail on page 9. The next story, 70% of Nigerians live with epilepsy untreated. And I think that is true. When I was in school, I had a coursemate. We never really knew he was epileptic. I think we got to 300 level, or is it 400 level? And one day he just started to, convulse in the class.
Right.
And eventually, he passed. It was quite a shock.
That's how he died?
Yes, he died.
In
he
class?
Died. From that incident, I think he was rushed to the hospital or so, and he passed. And we really never knew that this guy was epileptic. I think it happened once, then the second time.
That was it.
That was it. We never had a clue that he was epileptic. It was the first time I was seeing an epileptic person. In a lecture hall like this, I just started and, had to rush him to the hospital. It was really crazy. But then...
I remember growing up one time, so there was this woman, a food vendor, the one we call Mamapo. This was a long time. I was probably in primary 3, going to primary 4. I was so young, I can't forget. So this guy would always stop by there, eat. It was more like a routine for him, breakfast kind of thing. So one day, it appears not to be the usual day. And next thing you know is he had barely finished eating and he drops on the ground.
Uh-oh.
and that was his feet. He was just there on the ground. And some person said, no, don't touch him, leave him. By the time he finishes, he'll be fine. That's how it works. I mean, sadly so. Another person says, no, you have to stick a spoon. Just look for something. Stick a spoon in his mouth. Just ensure that he doesn't clench his teeth. Blah, 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 and all that. And true to type, a few minutes later, the guy suddenly calms down, looks all right again, and then grabs his kaya, as we say, and then he moves on. And it troubled me as a child, even though this was somebody I knew from nowhere. And then fast forward to sometime in 2002, I was still a very young boy. I was on a bus alone going to Lagos. And the next thing is the driver starts convulsing on high speed.
Whoa.
This was, I think, Benin Shagamu Road or Lagos Shagamu Road. Yeah, but it was that trunk of road. The guy was convulsing behind the steering wheel.
Whoa.
It took another policeman, I mean, we later found it was a policeman, an inspector, I guess, who was in plain clothes, to now grab the steering from him. That was the guy that drove us all the way to, I think, Oshodi or so.
Wow.
So I look over my shoulder now and I'm asking myself, what if things had spiraled out of control? I mean, we are saying people should not drink and drive. This was not a DIU situation. This was somebody who had a health issue, something that has a mental health element in it. And this was an express road or highway, as we call it, and high speed and what have you. A young boy with a bright future in front of him was on that bus and things like that. So when you share that story now, it looks plain, it looks pedestrian, it sounds like, well, thank God, thank God, thank God. But you don't want to walk in that shoe, really.
Exactly.
And you are asking yourself, what are the medical options we have for people who live? I mean,
what is even the awareness level of such kind of situations?
Right. After this program, how many more times are we going to have this conversation again? With whom?
Exactly. We need medical experts to raise more awareness on illnesses like the sickness, that because man, it's a whole lot.
Yeah.
I like the fact that there are lots of children. What do I call it? Infant sickness. I don't know what to call it, but then there's so much awareness when it comes to children and their, their.
And I also hear that for things like this, I mean, epilepsy and all of that, the earlier it's detected, the better. Yes, it has to do with the brain, because I know I read a book by Dr. Ben Carson, one of the world's finest and foremost neurosurgeons. Yes, Gifted Hands. Where he made reference to quite a number of cases that he and his team had handled at Johns Hopkins back in the day. Talked about a young girl where they had to do, I think the procedure is called hysterectomy or something, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, where you have to practically split the brain into two halves. So you remove the part of the brain that causes that seizure, that makes that person to convulse.
Wow,
you take it out. It's a delicate, complicated procedure. And it's quite expensive.
Of course.
As far back as in the 80s, people were paying as much as over $400,000 for that procedure. You can imagine what it can cost. I mean, we're talking in money terms, let alone the procedure itself, where at some point they will spend as much as 18 hours non-stop in the OR just to carry out one procedure on a young girl. And the good thing is, quite a number of them were successful.
Yeah.
But again, you mentioned awareness. We have to talk about the manpower for it. Do we have the expertise? Do we have the facilities? Do we have a system for that in a situation where people still go to Federal Medical Center, people still go to teaching hospitals for malaria, for fever, for body pain. So it's quite...
And then you get to queue up.
Right, that part is draining
and
traumatic.
Is traumatic. Well, we need to get an expert, to help us analyze and talk about this, because it's very important. Next story: relief for Nigerians as food inflation eases to single digits after 10 years. Food inflation eases to single digits. Okay, it means that you're not going to buy food in double digits.
That's a landmark, isn't it?
Well, how much transport do you use to get the single-digit food? Is the question.
So you go to the market close to your house.
You go to the market close to your house, or you trek.
You have options.
That detail is there on page 6. CSOs rally demand updates, due process in El-Rufai's probe. Okay, details on page 9. 70. Okay, Akwa Ibom Cross River Beaker over all well control. Details on page 8. Those are your headlines. Interesting read from the Guardian newspaper. Next is the Daily Sun.
All right, so we begin with the headline, just adjacent the nameplate of the Daily Sun. It says, electoral reform and National Assembly takes Final decision on real-time transmission, 19 other clauses as Harmonization Committee meets. Federal government slams 3-count charge on El-Rufai over bugging of Ibadu's phone. The writer says as EFCC drills him over 422 billion naira corruption allegation amid protests. All right, what more do we have? The big one here says U.S. freezes assets of 8 Nigerians over alleged Boko Haram ISIL links. That's Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. All right, we move further. 3 more headlines to go. Bottom left. Soldiers kill 2 suspected terrorists in Ondo, raid hideouts in Benue. Inflation eased to 15.1% in January as food prices dropped. That report is credited to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. Dangote signs $400 million equipment deal to fast-track refinery expansion. 14 die in boat mishap in Kebbi. Governor Idris condoles the Yauri Emirates. Quite a sad story. This is the same Kebbi state where we watched the Argungu Festival over the weekend. A festival we understand has been here for well over 8 decades and counting. Hopefully we find a way to address these issues. I mean, tackle them head on. Issues associated with waterways. We have to take waterways safety more seriously. Well, those are your headlines from the Daily Sun newspaper today. One way to find out what exactly these headlines mean is to look at their details. Let's turn to the first daily newspaper now.
Okay, on the first daily newspaper, first story besides the nameplate, Cubana chief priest launches campaign for Tinubu, targets Imo youth. Okay, this is part of one of the ambassadors
yes,
of the
City Boy movement, right?
Mm-hmm. And let's see how all of this plays out. You know, we now have Village Boys movement versus City Boys movement, and they have been doing a battle, a tussle, an online tussle, and been fighting themselves online.
Right.
But, I mean, whatever the case, respectfully support your candidate and leave another person alone. That's what I was saying. Star story, El-Rufai in DSS, duck over alleged NSA phone spying. National Bureau of Statistics, inflation drops to 15.1% in January. Dangote Group unveils Vision 2030 for $100 billion empire. Next, Nigeria Data Protection Commission probes Temu over Nigerian data breach. Okay. Anytime you see any of our agencies working hard like this, yes.
You know that what?
You know that something is at stake somehow, because if it has not affected one of them, or if it's not something to benefit
so
from,
you won't see much of action.
You won't see. If it's just Nigerians cry, please help us, help us, you would cry till eternity. But
when it touches somebody from the elite,
someone from the elite,
or maybe the political class,
exactly, or there's some sort of gain, they're like, more money did this place, so how come we have been sleeping on this?
And then you start seeing initiatives.
You start seeing initiatives springing up left, right, center. But whatever the case, the good thing is that it still benefits us eventually. Nigeria's World Cup qualification hopes dashes as DR Congo cleared. Court fixes February 24 to hear suit seeking ADC deregistration. I'm wondering why. Why? Why not just support your own party and leave another party?
I'm telling you.
How does their own take affect you, for crying out loud? Senate pushes proposal for single presidential term reform. I think I saw that. How many years? Was it 14 years?
Yes.
14 good years.
Yes. So you have enough time to drive reforms. There won't be excuse of time constraints, the term not being long enough for you.
Okay, did they come with any clause?
Well, let's develop the bill as we make progress. Yes.
Because we have to consider everything. When you sign in one and you don't put the clause, it becomes a problem eventually.
Right.
If you sign in an 80-year-old man, and I tell him to rule for 40 years.
And then by the time he's done, he's 94. And he tells you, I wish I was younger.
Anyways, those are your headlines for the first daily. Now, the next point of call will be the Daily Trust, and he takes us through that.
All right. 100 U.S. personnel equipment arrive Bauchi, as northeast Nigeria. Goods destroyed as residents protest against northerners in rivers. Okay, and then the big one tells us EFCC detains El Rufai. Drop in prices of food items pushes down inflation. United States freezes assets of 8 Nigerians over Boko Haram membership cybercrime. A look out for Ramadan crescent today, Sultan urges Muslims. Kano State government commends President Tinubu, APC governors over 8 billion naira donation to single market fire victims. We'll read up those details from the Daily Trust. Time now to move to our next paper, the Punch newspaper.
Okay, the Punch newspaper would have its first story as Kwara, Niger, map out joint counter-terror plan. I think this is timely. You find that detail on page 7. 2027, Kano Central to APC plans, says Shetima. Details on page 8. 65% Nigerians demand lower interest rate as MPC convenes, and that is coming from a report. You'll find details on page 44, I beg your pardon. 2027, National Assembly eyes January 16 for presidential poll. Suspends electoral bill harmonization. January 16. I thought it was January and February, according to the INEC time.
Right, it's February. But again, the National Assembly will take a position on that matter today. Because, you know, there's also the concern around Ramadan as well. So quite a number of elements to be addressed, really.
Okay. Okay.
Or you want to send a citizen bill in this regards to the National Assembly?
The only way to do that is to join the protest. Let's go to the big story. 432 billion naira probe. EFCC detains El Rufai, DSS on standby. Sounds funny. Ex-governor grilled by EFCC as FG files charges over alleged NSA phone tapping. DSS reopens the Daddy Yatta case, seizes passports, summons sons for questioning. Rival protesters clash at EFCC headquarters in Abuja, Kaduna Assembly Complex. In all of this, I just wonder how El Rufai's son will be feeling for me.
Who knows? I mean, I feel he probably just thinks his dad is being prosecuted.
Just thinks his dad.
Yes, he's being
because
prosecuted.
that's what it is. He's an APC person.
He feels it's about politics, so.
So he understands. I mean, he's a politician.
He feels probably that when it's all said and done, his father will be vindicated. Well, he continues to represent the good people of his constituency.
And stand with the president.
Yes, he can stand with the president and still believe in the process.
Okay, all right.
Trusting that his father will survive this.
Well, it's a dicey one if you ask me, though. Court remands suspected killers of South Africa-based Nigerian students. Okay. Federal government to borrow 800 billion naira via February bonds. Okay, another borrowing coming. Details on page 44. Arrest made after 2 die on Lagos film set. Details on page 5. Finally, we have food inflation falls to 14-year low. Details on page 9. Those are your headlines for the Punch newspaper. Can we take any?
Okay, let's do the last one and we'll do a quick run of it. That's the Nigerian News Director, very last paper on the program today. The star headline is where we start from, says food inflation crashes to 8.89% as harvests flood markets. We have completed over 1,600 kilometers of road networks since 2019. Ogun State's government. Reps issue October ultimatum for submission of federal government financial statements. APC National Chairman visits Governor Yusuf, reaffirms 60-40 leadership deal. Federal government slams El-Rufai with criminal charges over phone bargaining. Customs clarifies valuation protocol, affirms CBN protocol over CBN control, I beg your pardon, over exchange rates. Of course, that much is understandable. Those are your headlines from the papers, or some of the papers today. Remember that Global Television does not in any way contribute to these headlines or their details. All we do is bring you the headlines, just the headlines as published by their respective publishers. We're taking a break. When we return, it will be time to join Ogochukwu Mabuna on Social Buzz. Please don't go away. Up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
When social media speaks, we'll listen and we'll bring you the extra. It's your one-stop show for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone sips. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get the extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And the issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global Television.
Good morning, Nigerians, and good morning, viewers all around the world. It's time to look at buzzing issues making rounds on social media. And today we're looking at a topic that's a bit controversial. And this one is a Nigerian priest who has sparked debate following his stance on IVF. Father Kevin Ugu, that's his name. A Reverend Father known as Kevin Ugu has sparked a debate concerning his stance on IVF when he posted on Facebook saying, "Concerning IVF, the issue is not about the desire for a child, but it is whether some children should die so that one may be born. Pain of infertility is real, but compassion should not make us ignore the other lives involved. It is ironical how most of those in support of IVF are those vehemently against abortion. You do not see how both relate. It is the same principle, the destruction of life after conception. In the case of IVF, the destruction is done outside the womb so that one life will live. If one sincerely holds that human life begins at conception, then the moral question surrounding IVF cannot be ignored. In many IVF cycles, several embryos are created, but not all implanted. Some are frozen indefinitely and others are eventually discarded. For those who see each embryo as a human life, this raises a serious ethical difficulty. So the debate is not simple about the desire for a child, rather it is about whether the loss of multiple embryonic lives can be justified in order to achieve a pregnancy. All right, this is a religious head that is trying to explain what he thinks about IVF. I just have to say what he thinks because that's what he knows and what he thinks about IVF. All right? Okay, so let's take a bit of comments. Some comments, of course. I say social media was buzzing. Last night, it was a lot of debate from here, different religious head talking, some other persons trying to give their stance on what they think about or know about IVF. And the first comment here is coming from Yuluku Lovey. And Yuluku says, "Hello, sir. In the case of natural conception, what happens to the remaining millions of sperm once one egg is fertilized? Where do they go to?" That's a good question, and I'm hoping that the Reverend Father Kevin Ugu comes out to answer this question. The next comment is coming from Adelakun Tufai, and Adelakun says, "Science and religion are compatible and shouldn't be seen as competition by some religious leaders." All right, thank you so much, Adelakun. And the third, which is the last comment but not the least, is coming from Ufoma Aaron. And Ufoma says, like, infertility is a medical condition, not a moral failure. IVF helps couples bring life into the world, not destroy it. Natural conception also involves embryo loss. Biology is not the same as intentional harm. We can uphold our beliefs without dismissing the real pain of families longing for children. Reducing IVF to destruction of life oversimplifies a complex medical reality. Many embryos naturally fail to implant even in normal conception. IVF is not about choosing who dies. It's about helping life begin where it otherwise wouldn't. Otherwise wouldn't. Compassion must include the couple praying for a child. Faith and medicine are not enemies. For many families, IVF is the bridge between hope and parenthood. All right, thank you so much, Ufoma. Ufoma just she poured out her heart there, trying to explain something. And I'm sure we all get it. Well, I'm not alone in the studio. I'm happy that I have with me someone who can discuss about this because, of course, she is a woman. And it's no other person but Priscilla Obasi. Good morning, Priscilla.
Good morning, Ogochukwu. You look good, by the way.
Thank you so much. And I'm happy to have you today on the show, of course. I've always wanted you. I wanted you to be on the show this morning so we can talk about this. Because when I read this story last night and I saw it, I told myself something. Why do you think IVF can be compared to abortion? Abortion is more like a deliberate act. You are carrying it out. Oh, you know you have a baby, but you do not want to have that baby in you. You don't want a baby. You don't want to bring forth life, and you destroy that child. But I don't think it should be compared to, IVF. It's not the same thing to me.
To be honest, it's a very dicey one. You see, the Reverend Father came up with his own facts, and we cannot even throw it under the table. It is facts. Now, abortion is in stages. The first stage, some people do it immediately after, you know, when they just perceive it, the first month. Some people wait for the next, you know, after 3 months. 3 months. That I say depends on the phase of the abortion. But some people wait 1 month. When the baby is 1 month, they go commit abortion. Some others, they find out when the baby is already 3 months, and like that. In the case of IVF, it is a situation, a medical situation where, you know, eggs are being tried, they are kept to fertilize and all of that. What I would just say is, I don't like the idea of, you know, pinning right or wrong. I know that there should be ethics, you know, to everything we do. But there are medical situations where women are told to abort. Yes. Okay. There are medical situations where the child is a threat to life and you're told to abort. There are such situations. So you don't generally say abortion is. Do you understand? When you just generalize, what about situations where the woman is told this child is a threat to your life? Do you understand? There are such situations. So there is no right and wrong to life. I personally believe that. I really feel like life is about motives. What is your motive? What is the situation on ground? And that's why I really feel like God will not judge us all the same way. Because the situation that surrounded the circumstance that surrounded your decision will play a major role to why do you understand? To the judgment that you receive, to what you will reap. Because they say what you sow is what you reap. So what did you sow? What you sow includes your motives. Did you really want to destroy? Do you understand?
Okay, right now, let me cut you short, Priscilla, in this case. Okay. Right now, we're talking about IVF.
Yes.
And, you know, the issue I have is you the Reverend Father, trying to compare IVF to abortion. I feel like it's not the same thing. To him, he said, it's the same thing. IVF is the same thing as abortion. Why? Because you are trying multiple eggs and the one that survives. And I think that happens in normal conception. You produce how many, the sperms that you know, that are being produced in the egg is over 1 million, and you know, one is struggling. Let me be the one to survive. And others die. Why that one? At the end of the day, I think that's the same thing with IVF. So why would someone would just come out and compare it to IVF? IVF, because I feel like most times when religious heads speak, their followers often try to go with them. Most persons don't even know God for themselves. They just go with whatever the religious head or the pastor or the priest over their lives speak about. And a lot of persons who are really consciously trying to get children and are trying to even go through IVF now sees IVF as a sin.
No. The thing is, women have struggled. IVF should be a blessing, right? But it shouldn't be abused. You have tried it once, twice, thrice, it's not working. There are people that would conceive to an extent. I know someone on Facebook, Nancy Ume, you might know her. She said she tried IVF over and over, and it kept failing. And the process of trying, you are destroying your body. Let's even leave the eggs that you say are dying. Do you understand? You are destroying your body, because continuing to conceive and to lose a child and to conceive and to lose a child is not healthy.
But that's a different case.
Yes, I understand. Yes. What I'm saying is nothing should be abused. There's no comparison, right? Everything has its own place. It is wrong for you to abort on some kind of grounds. Do you understand? Except for medical reasons that some doctors will give. IVF should not be compared. There's no comparison. Do you understand? There shouldn't be a comparison. If somebody is looking for you, you've not found yourself in that situation, so you will not even understand. The Reverend Father I'm trying to refer to now in this case, he has not found himself in the situation. He probably has had, family members, relatives that have struggled with fertility, but maybe he has not really understood. What it means.
I don't think he until you are in that shoe, you can never get it.
To look for it. So there's no comparison. There is no comparison with IVF, abortion. The only thing is, for the purpose of health, do not abuse it. That's what I'm saying. Do not, if it's not working, what happens to adopting a child, for heaven's sake?
Surrogacy too.
What happens to surrogacy? Just like, the lady I was trying to mention, Nancy Ume tried. She tried IVF. These things are even expensive. But then, you're wasting resources. Do you understand? I'm not trying to sound
insensitive.
I'm not trying to sound. It's you keep doing it. You're harming your body.
So many women want to carry their
Go
children.
and
They
adopt.
want to feel that thing.
You don't have to kill
Come
yourself
on.
and kill your. No. There is other. There
Okay,
are
that's
other
in the
routes.
case of when you have tried multiple times, then you give up.
Exactly, it's not working. You're trying.
Yes.
You keep hurting yourself psychologically. I'm not trying to sound insensitive. Please, don't get me wrong. But try other routes, right? There are children in the world that cannot be taken care of. Why not go collect one and make them yours? Because environmental factors really affect the child's upbringing. I know you might try to say, okay, the DNA factor and all of that is not my own, but the environment you expose a child to becomes what that it has a way of impacting that child. The child is a plain sheet. I'll keep emphasizing it. A child is a plain sheet. Whatever you write is what that child becomes. So drop the whole mindset of this is not my blood. No.
All right.
Go out there, adopt. If you need to do IVF, why not try? But do not abuse the process. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Thank you so much, Priscilla. I think next time we'll have to continue this topic, but we are going to invite a doctor, someone who is an expert in this field, definitely,
Actually.
to at least educate us more. All right. This is where we close the curtains for Social Buzz here on Global Morning. I'll be leaving you in the hands of Uyi and Priscilla as they usher us into the discussion section of Global Morning. So stay with us. Good morning once again, Nigeria and viewers around the world. I am Obachukwu Mobno. Bye for now.
When social media speaks, we'll listen and we'll bring you the extra. It's your one-stop show for trends, truth, and the tea everyone's sipping. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get the extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on the issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk. Only on Global Television.
Hello and welcome to the weather update. Satellite imagery shows dust already moving into the country, reducing visibility across the north. And by Tuesday, thick dust haze is expected to cause very poor visibility over the northern regions. This may lead to flight delays and cancellations, and operators are advised to consult the NIMET e-flight folder for proper planning. The central region will be partly cloudy with slight chance of isolated thunderstorms over parts of Nasarawa, Benue, and Kogi State. Further south, thunderstorms are likely across the coastal areas and most parts of the inland cities of the south. Temperatures are also expected to drop, particularly over the north and the north-central region. And that's your weather forecast for Tuesday. Stay safe, plan accordingly, and join us again for the next forecast. I'm Safia Asenginusa. Thank you for watching.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
New Imo is on the rise. In the beating heart of Owerri, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Governor Hope Uzodinma's leadership has left the pages of manifestos to become real actions and achievements. Transformations that piece by piece feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace to thrive. And in Imo, we are not leaving it to chance. From land to sky to river deep, guardians are always watching, protecting dreams and opportunities. If you go to the quiet shore of Orashi Power, you will see the awakening of a hydropower roaring to electrify and energize a blossoming economy. The change is visible. The heartland of the East is under construction as new roads are threading together once forgotten places. Industry is humming again and communities are alive. At the center of it all, a digital revolution is rising. A new ministry with a new mission. Not just cables and codes, but capacity. 500,000 young minds trained each year to build a digital future. And as Orashi Power goes up, so does Imo, lifting with it the hopes of a hard-working people. A new Imo is on the rise.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Let's get our first conversation this morning on the program on the road for you. Time and again, we've been told that until we get it right at the very grassroots level regarding not just our democracy, but leadership generally, it's going to be a tough call, expecting that things will get better from the top. And that's the reason when in August of 2024, the Supreme Court of Nigeria ruled and, if you like, handed over autonomy to local councils. It was a landmark achievement for democracy and indeed for grassroots leadership in our country. However, that ruling, as grand as it was in itself, has become a basis for controversy. As it stands today, there's still the question of whether or not local government councils have autonomy in the real sense of that word. And now, just a matter of days away, there will be elections for area councils in Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. And we have 6 of these councils where we understand that quite a number of people will throw their hats in the ring. What exactly are the issues beyond partisanship and the usual rhetorics that trail our elections? In the case of AMAC, for example, what are the challenges today? What are the gaps that must be filled? And for those who say they will do the job much better, what competencies, what skills, and what backgrounds are they bringing or intend to bring into that role? So help us find sense in this regard. We're joined this morning by Robert Madaki. Is the Young People's Party chairmanship candidate for Abuja Municipal Area Council, that's AMAC. Thank you, Robert, for making our time to join us on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Great. When we talk about local government, these days it appears we don't pay much of attention to it. Every little thing, everybody's running to Abuja to protest and to wield placards. What are some of the challenges that you have seen as a Nigerian that are plaguing our local government system?
Okay, so thank you for inviting me. The party is Young Progressive Party.
Okay, Young Progressive Party.
Young Progressive Party.
Okay.
And the issue of local government administration in Nigeria can be seen from 3 angles. The first one is the issue of competency. The second one is the overbearing effect of the state on the local government resources. And the last part of it, of course, is the people, because of course in this equation you also have to look at the people, the role of the polity in local government administration. Local government administration cannot exist in isolation,
right?
From the people that are being administered, because also by design
it's meant to be the closest level of government to the people, grassroots. And essentially, we know that there is a popular palace in Nigeria that all politics is grassroots politics. So whether you're going for Senate, you're going for House of Representatives, even the presidency, the votes come from the grassroots. They come from polling units, which are the most basic units of the structure of the politics in local government.
Great. I know Priscilla is itching to want to advance a couple of questions as well. But let's talk about how that autonomy, like you mentioned, again, cannot be in isolation and all of that. When you look at the judgments from the Supreme Court, which has been on for about a year and a half now, how concerned are you about the fact that we are still dragging in terms of enforcement or implementation?
Yes. So, yes, it's concerning. However, but if you look at most political structures within the states, yes, FCT, AMAC, the area council structure is slightly different from what is obtainable in other parts of the country. However, if you look at the states, for example, and you begin to see how politics is playing out, you have a Grandmaster who is the governor of the state, who wields his authority. And usually in most states you find that local government administration is essentially working under a, should I say, technically one party state, in the sense that whoever is in charge, basically every local government seems to follow. So it's a reflection of what we are seeing on a national level, whereby you have most of the governors, they come into the ruling party. So the ruling party always holds sway. So, and when it does that, basically what now happens is that you have a system that is compromised, that does not allow for the independent local governments, to exert themselves. So, and of course, there is resource that comes to the local government that goes through the states. So the chairman, the governors generally have one overbearing influence on how these resources are distributed. In many cases, we've seen local governments where essentially what the local government chairman does is pay salaries, and then very little project here and there. So those are the challenges. And the thing about control and power is that because there's a lot of resource involved in it, most of these governors will not let go of that influence. So that is the challenge that we face, with the issue of local government autonomy.
All right. Yes. Well, I will have to bump in on you so we can take a break real quick. Well, Robert Madaki is helping us understand exactly what we're dealing with regarding the local government system in our country. But we also want to talk about issues around, the prerequisites for being able to lead at the grassroots level. Everybody wants to be a governor, everybody wants to be a senator, everybody wants to even be the president. But what does it take to lead at the grassroots level? They say it makes it easier to lead because everybody knows everybody. You're able to connect better with your people at that level. But in the case of Nigeria, is that the reality? Back in the day, for example, we used to have a situation, real time, where local government councils would grade roads, would build markets, take care of local health facilities, even primary schools in some instances. I mean, those were the days when local government system was, to say the least, vibrant. But today, the reverse is the case. And there are those who now say that governors have become more like emperors in this regard, taking charge of local government councils, ensuring that every time there's a local government election, virtually all the chairmen have to come from or through the governor. That break may not be necessary anymore at this point, but I think Priscilla wants to ask the question.
Yeah, I'm quite curious about the YPP, the Young Progressive Party. Now, you made mention of the fact that most states are becoming a one-party state, depending on the governor on the state and the party he belongs to. How daring, would I say, is this? Is it you trying to, take on this pursuit, right, as an AMAC chairman under the YPP? First of all, maybe establish what the YPP is about, and then is it part of those new parties that was just...
I think it's been here for a while.
So a brief background of the YPP. YPP has been around for a while and has had the likes of Senator Uba and Kingsley Moghalu, who ran under the platform of YPP. And YPP is not is a new party, yes, but it's not as new, as we think.
I think the first time I heard it was in 2019.
Okay. So right now, YPP in the last elections in Anambra came third. Yes. YPP is also a very solid grassroots party in FCT. In the last area council elections, YPP was third. So we are not newcomers to what is happening in the area council in FCT. Yes, we know that there is a tendency or there is this drive for governors to decamp to the ruling party. But it's not something we've not seen before. Even way back in 98, you had the Who Does the Cap Fit, the Tazarche movement, when Abacha was going to come out.
In Agbada.
Yes, in Agbada, and run out. So there is always a drive, for people to be relevant, especially if you have a very strong man at the helm of affairs and everybody wants to be in his good books. So the decamping of the governors does not automatically infer that the state has become a one-party state. Essentially what happens is that, yes, the governors have more visibility because they have resources at their disposal, so they can put billboards and things all over the place. But you see, the grassroots person in Nigeria right now, the suffering is too much to be looking at billboard and admiring it. So the billboards and things that we see around town is only indicative of the fact that many people, or the people promoting these pictures, have lost touch with the reality of what local government electioneering is all about. And if you apply a state model for campaigning in area council, you are going to lose. So it's not the same thing. So it's not a media contest. It's about connecting to the grassroots. And FCT has been known to be one of those places where the grassroots, when it comes to area council elections, actually make their voices known. Remember that FCT is also a place where you have a lot of educated people. It's a very educated voting population, that know their rights. And I've shown in the past that it doesn't matter if you're incumbent, that yes, you would lose that seat if you take the people for granted.
APC is the ruling party in do I say Nigeria? I don't know about Abuja.
Well, the party's foothold here cannot be denied.
Yes.
Exactly.
So we acknowledge the fact that the party's foothold here cannot be denied. The same way other parties too, their foothold and presence cannot be denied. Remember that the incumbent is not an established APC individual. So and he moved from APC at the verge, from PDP at the verge of the elections, to hopefully save his neck. So that also is I have a perception and a perspective on people who easily jump ship, it means that when you talk on the issue of morality, on the issue of principle, that you are not principled, because it's not as if the other party cease to exist entirely. They still have one of the best and biggest structures of a party system in Nigeria. So it is not cast in stone that just because you are incumbent, that you have automatic access, to that seat, because it is the decision of the people, not of the parties. The parties only present their candidates, and the people make the decision.
Let's talk about the challenges so far with the INEC registration and all of that. Do you think everything is going as expected?
Yes. I had this conversation a few days ago with some other aspirants or candidates, of the party, precisely on candidates of other parties. So we met in a forum and we just had conversation. And one thing that we agreed is that as far as FCT is concerned, we cannot fault INEC at this stage because they've done their publicity. If you move around town, you will even see posters from INEC competing with posters of candidates, providing voter education and other things. So there is an improvement, in INEC approach to it. And remember that FCT is federal, so everything is done, it's on point. So far, so good. So, and they have also engaged us from time to time, and even up till just a few days ago, we had engagements with INEC in preparation, making us, enabling us to know what they are doing with regards to preparations for election and providing support for all the parties.
I'm curious, what's the, I mean, they say put your best foot forward.
Yes.
What's the competitive advantage, as they say in business, that you as a candidate and your party, the YPP, will be bringing into this election?
Okay, so as a candidate, I come with the advantage of having worked in developmental space with emphasis on community development. And I have a proven track record, that can be verified, that I've worked within Nigeria and even across West Africa, and in my more recent appointments, I had worked with a project called UK NIAF, so it's the United Kingdom Nigeria Infrastructure Facility. So that tells you, in its definition, you understand what it is. And so I have an experience and a view on AMAC, which is quite different from most of the candidates. And my view of AMAC is that AMAC is in a humanitarian crisis and has to be approached from that angle. Essentially, most of what we see in the area council and have become normalized. There are things that are not acceptable, in other climes. So essentially, dirt, poor sanitation has become normal. Poor drinking water has become normalized. In the area council, I can take you to places in this city right now, not far from the city center, where there is no access to primary health care. So, and the women are delivering at home.
In 2026?
Yes, sir. So when the conversation of IVF is ongoing, that's rich people conversation, not the poor people in the suburbs around FCT.
Right.
Just Kuchiguru here, which is a few minutes from city center. Nyanya, not too far from city center. Places like Asokoro village, and all those places, they are giving birth to children in their houses because they cannot afford to go to medical to a hospital.
But sorry, is it realistic that a local government like AMAC can, mop up the resources to address these sort of issues?
So now, that's the thing that has happened to us in our understanding of what the local government is meant to do. The local government has responsibility to provide health care.
Right.
Yes. So you have primary, tertiary, and universal health care.
Right.
So in the FCT, you have the National Hospital, you have the Federal Medical Center, you have general hospitals. Where is the primary health care? The primary health care is the one, yes, it may not be equipped to carry out certain functions, but it can do proper referrals.
The name explains the function.
Yes. So it can do proper referrals. So if you have an accident now, for example, there are primary healthcare facilities that if you are taking an accident victim there, I will beg you not to do that. Yes, because on hygiene alone, the person is finished. So the issue about our candidature for AMAC has nothing to do with a drive to unseat a ruling party or anything like that. It's more issue-driven, that there are issues that have not been addressed, and there are issues that will not be addressed if we don't take the necessary steps to get into that space and begin to deal with them on the account of our competencies and expertise in these areas. These areas and these issues that I have stated are issues that we have made intervention in. So we're not highlighting them for the purpose of just highlighting them, but we're telling you that we could take you to homes and show you that this baby was born here. So those are the things. So if you look at healthcare, you look at primary education, schools, and other things, the infrastructure. Now, there is an erroneous belief that even sanitation is the purview of the FCT minister. No.
It's wrong.
It's wrong. A few years back, there was a court case to determine whether it was the AEPB or the area council that has the right to administering sanitation. And the court concluded that based on the constitutional provision of AMAC has the statutory responsibility to handle sanitation and even collect the revenue. So you are collecting the revenue, but you don't have functional logistics hub where we go and we see trucks that are meant for evacuation. It's simple evacuation.
Right.
You can't do it. You can't accomplish it. And then on the eve of election, They are running around with open trucks, carrying dirt, the debris, and everything is falling on the road as they are evacuating them, because those trucks are not designed for that kind of use. Right. So it's a problem of, like I said earlier on, there is the issue of competence, there is the issue of structure of the administration, or how you operate within the powers that you have already been granted, because you have executive powers to operate within the area council and ensure that the statutory responsibility of the area council is actually fulfilled. So the empowerment is there, the resources are there. The current budget, I stand to be corrected, but the current budget for AMAC is 25 billion naira.
Wow.
That's not small money, if well managed.
But in reality, how much of it is released ultimately?
No, area council has a very heavy, let me just say, a decent internal revenue mechanism that allows it to be able to generate revenue. And if you clean up that system, you actually make more, they generate more. So,
plug all of those leaks.
Yes, there's so many leakages. Right now, okay, in the forum, the area council chairman was asked, what do you generate from tenement rates? He could not give an answer, and he was saying that he has to speak to his orgas. Who are his orgas? He is the executive chairman of the area council and should be able to give answers, to certain things. Even if you come into a space and you haven't been in that space before, and you spend 2, 3, 4 years there doing the same thing, you should develop some level of knowledge and understanding of how that system works, so that at the end of that tenure, if they ask you a question around that, you should be able to respond and not look to your aides or other people to give you responses.
Okay, so most times when candidates or people are trying to contest, they come up with everything they want to do. But eventually when they get in, they see that, they start to blame previous administration and say the fault came from here, it came from here. So how we show that everything you've outlined is solely the fault of, the lack of, what do I call it now? The current chairman of AMAC, how we so sure that he's not doing his best is not from some kind of systemic issues, right? Are we so sure that you've not done your research, or how are we sure that you've done your research to see that this is not something that you can come and do automatically? It's something that is systemic. And what's come to worse, we're wishing you all the best, but if this bid isn't successful, what would be your quota to the government, waiting for another term to come take over power or to contest again?
Yes, so there are a number of questions you've asked, I think about 3 of them or 2. So the first issue is that it is the buck stops at the table of the area council chairman. Right. And he has a responsibility to take responsibility.
Okay.
Yes. So, and it is, so when a leader who shrinks away from taking responsibility, of what he's meant to do. Yes, you can't account for the previous administration, but when you come into that place, the first thing you are meant to do is do a system audit and look at what is working and what isn't working from that system, and then work on it and make it work. So that whoever is coming after you will not come with the same excuse that you are giving now to say that this wasn't working when I got here. If it wasn't working, what have you done to better the situation? It is on record, and it can be quoted anywhere, that the previous area council chairman before this one did much better.
Okay.
Yes.
In what terms?
We are the ones to judge, because we are the ones that went to vote, and so we can assess your performance at the end of your tenure and say, okay, this guy did this. The last guy did better in infrastructure. So you could go around and look at area council roads and say, yes, this was done by this guy, this was done, this was done.
But this guy has been there for 4 years.
He has been there for 4 years, but he's using roads that were done by the FCT minister to campaign for re-election. So it's not, the issue is that the incumbent is an easy target because he has made himself so. Because if you give room for people to question your competence in something, that's the worst that can happen to you. He makes comments in the press, like the issue around security. He was asked, there is a problem of security. What are you going to do about it? He says, it's not me, it's not my responsibility. But within your statutory role, you have a role to play there.
Right,
just like so you cannot come to a public space, and when you ask direct questions on your responsibility and role, you shrink from it. You run from engaging with media like this to have conversations, because you'll be scrutinized. This meeting and engagement today is not curated. it is not scripted.
Yeah.
You know, so you're asking me questions that I didn't know I will be asked, and I'm speaking candidly and telling you that this is the current situation in Amak. Amak is in a humanitarian crisis. Right now, the problem is much. We have so many IDP camps around the FCT that have, yes, the IDP camps are important because it helps us to provide succor for people in distress. But criminal elements have timed these areas as places where they go to operate from because it is not properly governed. The space is not well structured or governed. So it means anybody can go in and go out. How does an area council manage that space? There are too many ungoverned spaces. Is it on our traffic coordination that you have people on the road with T-shirts claiming to be AMAC and extorting people? You know, so there are so many issues there that are within the purview of the area council chairman to actually address these things and make them better. But if you're only, if the drive is only just revenue, when the revenue is collected, what does it go into? How is it accounted for? Why do we have teachers complaining? Why do we have doctors or hardly have doctors on area council level? You know, and the ill-equipped labs and hospitals. You know, so it's a general issue that we need to do something about it so that we can give something to the generation that is coming after this. If the area council election, for me, is a calling to go into that space and do something about it. You know, so I'm not your typical politician. I have a life outside of.
So as they say, you have a second address.
I have a second address. So, but my second address also enables me to contribute to the development of my community more effectively. So, but I know that this election, we look like the underdogs, but the people there that know we are not underdogs and know that come February 21st, anything can happen. And I know that on the 21st of February, we'll clinch the ticket. And you will invite me back here.
Incidentally, we have just about 2 minutes to go. But I want you to address this in a minute and a half, if you can.
Yes.
In the event that, I mean, you emerge next area council chairman for AMAC, what will be your first line of priorities? Okay, so in the event of resumption as the chairman of AMAC, what I would do, like I said earlier on, you know, is that a complete system audit. Because, you see, the current structure of AMAC is not primed for service delivery. And essentially, AMAC, by its own enabling act, puts it in a position to provide services that no other organization is given the task of doing. So if the structure of the administration is reviewed to become more service-driven and more profitable in its outlook, then it can now begin to provide those services in a profitable way, ensuring that the staffing also, there is a right staffing. As to say, the staff are enabled to work. Right now, there is technically a high level of redundancy within the system because the potentials of this current staff is not even maximized. It's not maximized, so you have people, they come into work when they want to come into, so there is no effect, there is no strength there. And of course, the staffing is not motivated because there are issues of salary disparities and other issues that also need to be looked into. So when you prime the system for service delivery, you begin to see that the issues around sanitation and all these things are actually very simple problems to deal with, but you have to put the right people in the right spaces to accomplish this objective. Incidentally, the election is just a matter of few days away, so 21st of February, all roads will lead to different polling units to determine who becomes the next chairman of not just AMAC, but the other area councils as well. The important thing is excellence in leadership, the kind of leadership that delivers for the people in the final analysis. We'd like to say a big thank you to you, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Malaki Roberts, for coming to share with us, and we wish you and your party all the best.
Thank you.
Wish you the best.
Let's take a break now, everyone. When we return, we'll turn to legislative matters, the specific ways in which the legislature helps to drive democracy and supports good governance. All of that and more coming shortly. Please stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning.
For the latest issues,
Always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
It is practically impossible to talk about good governance or even have conversations around democracy without actually putting in place or at least situating the role of the legislature, whether at the federal, state, or local level. In the case of Nigeria, since 1999, the legislature has been in the spotlight for all the reasons, right and wrong. This is the 10th National Assembly that we have today, and it has also seen perhaps a little more than its own fair share of criticism for things it either hasn't done at all or has failed to do properly. We've seen instances where the legislature has been referred to as, quote, rubber stamp. The question is, as it stands today, for a country like Nigeria that has been, quote unquote, experimenting with democracy for virtually 27 years. Where exactly are we? Can we say the gains, if any, that we recorded so far are commensurate with the efforts that have been put in, the work that has been put in, and are they in tandem with the expectations of citizens in a country where you have over 200 million real human beings? To help us put this in context and establish perspectives, we're joined by a gentleman who is an accomplished lawyer, distinguished legislator, one who has spent so many decades in public service, in the process pursuing notable reforms and staying committed to participatory governance. Barrister Onor Fiok Luke, I'd like to say a big thank you to you.
Thank you, sir, and welcome.
Thank you.
Great. I was scared of your first name. It's a bit tongue twisting. I had to speak with a colleague from your place, by the way, to be sure I would get it right.
And you've gotten it right.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, you are not new to the public space, apparently. We talk about public service a lot. People say we're just being theoretical about these things. When you look at the concept of public service, vis-a-vis what we have in Nigeria today, are we just filling up space, taking up titles without actually understanding the concept of service in itself?
To best answer that question, we have to look at it from historical perspective, right from independence of Nigeria, right from those who had the opportunity to serve. And
we've had a mix of people, I mean, a hybrid, or a mix, let me use the word a mix, in the sense that we've had people who understands what it takes to serve in public service. And then we have those who are just looking at the perks, the privileges of office, and that has been their driving force, what propels them into public service. And that reminds me, last Thursday, I had the opportunity to attend the 50th anniversary of the assassination of General Murtala Muhammad. And then I got to hear things, deep things, when General Olusegun Obasanjo mounted the podium and then to speak as the chairman of the occasion, spoke about the achievement of that government in 200 days. 200 days. And every other person spoke. The former president of Malawi told the same line. We had the former president of Ghana told the same line, speaking about someone who had the opportunity to create impact in 200 days. And that just come to mind because that has been fresh in my memory. But so, coming to the democratic setting, we've had people who have served diligently well, who understands their calling, who understands the demands of every of the offices they've had to occupy. Whether we've had chairmen of local government who have left a mark at the grassroots, we've had members of the House of Assembly who are members of the legislature, I mean, both at the state, at the national level, whose voice have been heard advocating for pro-people legislation, pro-people policy. In this country, we've had, we can recall presidents who have acted in a manner that speaks to the fact that they understand what it means to be the president of a country. And then we've had cases of governors too, who had delivered on dividends of democracy, infrastructural development, and has been in sync with the demands and the interests of the people who gave them the mandate to serve. So we've had those two who have seen the public service as maybe an opportunity to enrich themselves, an opportunity to get titles, and opportunities to get fame. So it's a mix. But gradually, we are declining. Gradually, we are declining. We used to have people who were known for things. Right now, it's sad, it's challenging to hear that a whole lot of people, so many people in the political space, are not known for anything. They just go anywhere the wind goes. That's where they go. They don't, even where the wind goes, they follow the wind. And then if the wind tosses left, they go to the left. If it goes right, it goes to the right. So they don't have the conviction. They don't have that mindset of, purpose. Yeah, it starts with purpose and mission, which would clarity or vision. So we are declining, and I pray that we don't get to the base level.
Okay, so let's talk about democracy in respect to our legislative institutions. Now, more than ever before, I feel like the age we're in, the internet age, makes every Nigerian somehow aware of rights and everything. And I feel like it's impacting our legislative institutions. But from your experience at both state and national levels, how would you assess so far? How would you assess the current strength of Nigeria's legislative institutions?
That's putting me on. That's putting me on the big spot, because looking at the leadership, I must say this conflict of interest. Looking at the leadership, I served in the last National Assembly, and so the present Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, was a member of my committee as Chairman, House Committee on Judiciary, and he was my colleague. And then the Deputy Speaker too were together. And then the Chairman of the National Assembly, the Senate President, happens to come from my state. And then if you look at that, you see a whole lot of conflict of interest. But public service demands some level of decorum, demands some level of, clear level of character and integrity and passion. And then more of that is demanded from a legislator, because you are holding the collective mandate of the people. You see, the closest form of government, closest form of arm of government to the people is the legislature, because it's seen as the representative of the people's yearnings, the representative of the people's aspiration, the people's collective mandate. And so, not to talk of where you are made the first amongst equal, the leadership. I serve as the Speaker of the House of Assembly. I know the demands. The demands on the headship of the legislature is more. But you see, the legislature is not the headship per se. You know, it's only in the case of the docility of the members of the legislature that the leadership seems to be looming very large. Because the leadership of the legislature is just a first amongst equal. The Senate President is first amongst equal. The Speaker of the House of Assembly is first among equal. The Speaker of the House of Representatives is first among equal. The leader of the Local Government Legislative Council is the first amongst equal. And so they are the first line of accountability. If they don't hold the leadership accountable, then that is where failure begins. So if, for instance, the leadership of the National Assembly is not the chairman of all the committees of the National Assembly. Let's take the issue of oversight function. And you're supposed to perform your function. You have, the legislature does the budgeting. It has the power of the purse in the bicameral legislature like we have in Nigeria. The power of the purse really lies with the House of Representatives. And so having appropriated, you ought to, within that fiscal year, to oversee and oversight the ministries, the departments and agencies that you have appropriated the sum for. And so if you fail in the performance of that function, you can't come to hold the leadership of the National Assembly to account. You begin to hold the chairman of the committee, members of the committee. What have they done? What is the level of, how have they been able to hold the executive and other arms of government to account in this? But on the other hand too, because of Barack Obama said something some time ago that we have strong men rather than strong institutions. Right. And that is playing out clearly in Nigeria today. And so because of the weakening of the institutions today as we have in the country, so we have positions, people in positions getting larger and more powerful than the institutions that they actually get elected into. And so because of that, too many things can be done and be gotten away, and everyone is putting the blame on the doorsteps, at the doorsteps of the leadership of the legislature. So today, Nigerians are asking for accountability in so many things. Just last week, and I think which is still continuing agitations, though it is not as loud as it was before the Senate had to make some level of changes in the proposed Electoral Act. You could see the demands of Nigerians asking that the Senate, the pressure was not in the House of Representatives because the House of Representatives had already taken a position, has passed their own version of the bill. Right. But Nigerians were advocating, agitating, and then protesting, asking for the amendment of that act as passed by the Senate to reflect their yearnings and aspirations, which is the real-time electronic transmission of result. And so, with that, I think for me, I made mention earlier that it is not only the leadership that has to blame. We have to begin to hold each of our representatives accountable. You cannot just come and say, oh, the leadership has failed to do this, the leadership has done this. All what you need to do is, how have we engaged those we have elected? How have we engaged them? Part of the lessons I learned from, and I applied when I was in the legislature, is what the Americans do with their constituents. And so they are congressmen. If they cannot have access to them, they consistently write to their congressmen about what they want and what they desire, and which is why constituency briefing and engagement is quite very key and critical in strengthening democratic governance in any space. So for us today, we have the challenge today in the leadership of not just the legislature, is the country as a whole, is that we have strong men as against strong institutions, and that does not augur well for our democratic governance. It does not augur well for the growth of the country. It does not augur well for, it does not go well for the development of our own country.
I want to ask you something about the independence of the legislature. I come from a state, for example, where at the point, we had a situation where about half a dozen, if you will, people who had been elected by their own different constituencies into the State House of Assembly were not inaugurated because the governor has his personal interest at that point in time, and there was this sort of black market inauguration that was said to have been done late into the night and all of that. And up until that entire tenure elapsed, those gentlemen, about 6 or so of them, were never inaugurated. At a point, they even had to move their sittings into a small hall inside, more like an office space inside a government house. We've seen that happen across many states in our country. For that reason, the legislature has been referred to as a rubber stamp, that they're strapped to the apron strings of the governor at the state level, or they are the beck and call of the president at the federal level. And we've seen that happen even with the 10th National Assembly, for example. When you look at that since 1999 till date, are you not concerned? Are you not even afraid that the institution known as the legislature is gradually getting eroded?
Yeah, you've painted a clear picture of the reality. The reality is this, and I say this with all sense of responsibility. The reality with the legislature, let me start at the state level.
Right.
The legislature at the state level is at the behest of the governor. As long as we have not been able to institutionalize legislative independence and autonomy. And it's difficult. I can't think of, I don't think there is any state today that will have a Speaker of the House of Assembly emerge as a Speaker of the House of Assembly without the endorsement of the governor.
And that's an error.
It's an error, but it's a reality. It's an error, but it's a reality. Reality in the sense that, let's start, the political process starts, the leadership recruitment process starts with the party primaries.
Right.
And we created a sort of abnormality, I call it an abnormality, where we said the governors are the leaders of the party in the state. And that makes them larger than the institutions in the state. It makes them larger than the party. In most cases, the governors don't listen to anybody except themselves. And so they determine who will represent which constituency within the party that they are the leaders. And so when that happens, you are expected to be loyal to the source from which you came from. And in this case, is the leader of the party, not the people who elected you. And so, assuming, let's have a hypothetical situation. A state has like 15 state constituencies, and then the leader of the party is able to influence the choice of up to about 10 or 12 of such members, first by ensuring that they get the party's ticket, they get the support to win the election, and they're inaugurated. Already, he has 12 members in his kitty. And tell me, who will oppose his choice of speakership?
He has the numbers.
He has the numbers. And he makes it look democratic without you seeing the invisible hands, the strings that pulls the things behind the scene. And so the question now is, how do we correct this abnormality? strengthening our internal democracy is key. But every day we wake up to the things that are happening and we find out that it is not, it's like an uphill task, the way it is, to allow the will of the people to prevail in the choice of candidate for the party. Now, when that is done, the next stage is the general elections. What have we been able to do? What have we been able to put in place to ensure the credible elections, to ensure that the democratic space is enlarged, is safe and credible for participation of all and sundry, to be able, those who are qualified, to be able to stand for the election? And what have we put in place to ensure that this outcome, the outcome of the elections, are credible? And how are we positioning our judiciary, since we have brought in judiciary to play a very key role? You know, we've made the judiciary part of the electorate. Because they are the determinants. The judiciary in most cases are the determinants of who are the elected members, who are the elected representative of the people, because of what we have seen through history. And so how do we correct this? Is to strengthen internal democracy, strengthen our electoral system, and then position our judiciary to ensure that the role they have to play is that of an unbiased arbiter, an unbiased umpire in this electoral process that we have brought in the judiciary to have a role.
Okay, sir. So talking about our legislatives, time and again we see a disconnect between the people that are being served and the people that are, and the person representing the people that are being served. There is always a disconnect. In passing of bills, appropriate bills are not passed. Some of the senators, or some of our legislatives rather, go to the House and, you know, we can stay silent for the whole of, you know, their term, right? And the people feel, okay, I'm supposed to be represented. We see bills that are not reflecting the reality of people. Again, I want to ask, how do we correct this anomaly, as you asked?
Okay. There is this docility that comes with the populace, with due respect to all. Immediately we finish the elections, we dissipate. The consciousness and awareness begins to mount again when the election approaches. And so like you've seen heightened political consciousness, you've seen heightened advocacies from different groups, because we are approaching an election year. So if we were to engage this energy that we engage close to political mean time of elections, in holding the people that we've elected into account, we would have made some progress. And so the way forward is we need to continue with the political education of the populace. We take it for granted, or we take it as given that because people listen to news, people make contributions towards political issues, that they are politically educated, they are aware. No, so we need to intensify political awareness, political enlightenment, and education. By that, I mean to say, how many of our people understand the core responsibilities of a legislator? Let's start with that elementary, which is lawmaking, oversight, and representation. And so what does these three entails? It is when you have an understanding of those core core function of your representative, that you will be able to fashion out the parameters to which you will hold them accountable. And so, first, in lawmaking, you should be able to, let's start from the local, because that is the one that is closer to the people. Let's start with the legislative councils, local government legislative councils. What are those things that they should legislate on? what are they actually doing? How do we get value for money? Because we have given them the mandate and they are being paid, and so they ought to give value back to the people.
Yeah.
And then you get to the state level, which has a great influence on the socioeconomic well-being of the people of that geographical expression as a state. How do you hold them to account? You look at the things that matter to the people, health care, you look at education, you look at security. And if there are areas that you think that executive policies don't make for maximum enforcement, you begin to approach the legislature to get legislative backing. For instance, I sat back when I got elected into the House of Assembly. I saw that we have a challenge in our primary healthcare system, and I did not waste my time. I had to go into consultation with some of the best brains in community health in my state, and then because I am not a health expert, so I needed their advice, and they said, "Oh, we have failed to do ABCD." One of the things we were short of was the establishment of the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency. And then I saw that as a responsibility, took it upon myself, did consultation, get input, and were able to fashion out a bill that became a law that established the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency to coordinate activities of healthcare between the states and the local government. Another area still in the healthcare was that we found out that, yes, we've had much of derivation funds coming to the state. We've had federal allocation coming to the state. But we found out that people were still paying for healthcare out of pocket. And for those living in the local communities, it became a challenge. And we found out that some government, through executive policies, had done what we call free health education for the children under 5 years and then the aged. There was need to institutionalize it. And then I came up with a bill to establish the state health insurance scheme, which has helped to institutionalize those executive policies and has equally taken part of health funding and financing from the out-of-pocket expenditure of individuals for government to take care of. So for us to do that, let the people be educated and then hold the people to account. For instance, if government says we have done this, let the people go to, there's a particular committee in the House of Assembly and even in the National Assembly that is very key, called the Public Account Committee. They look at each fiscal year, the money given and what expenditure has been done to justify whether such money that has been released has been judiciously used. So approach the Public Account Committee and ask for the public account report of the state. It ought to be a public document. And even the public account sitting ought to be in the public space. And so with that, we can begin to hold the people to account and let the people stand to elect who they believe in. If you see in this country, look at states, look at local government, look at places where the people elect their representative or their leader. You find out that that leader, having known that power comes from the people, will do everything to please that people. One, for legacy purposes. Two, at least for selfish interest, to be elected back into that office. Right. Okay, these people gave me the mandate, let me work and please them. But where the leaders emerge not from the popular will of the people, maybe by way of some endorsement by the political class or endorsement by the godfather, such leaders are only going to be loyal. So are only going to be loyal to the people that brought them or the process that threw them up as leaders. So let the people begin to be conscious, not go to sleep immediately after electing their leaders. Let them write offices. Let them go to let them ask every member, the moment you are elected, where is your constituency office? If they can't come to Abuja, let them write to their members and drop those letters at those constituency offices and demand response or reply of those letters that they have written to their representatives.
So we're saying any Nigerian can take on this task?
It is. It's just education. It's just organization. For instance, when I got elected, I had a constituency office to a point that when I got elected in the House of Representatives, I said, just like the state will be having state secretariat and a government house for everyone that comes to use, I built a standalone, the very first time in my state. Wow. And I built a standalone constituency office which my successor in the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Paul Ekbo, has named it after me, because I wanted to, while I tried as much as possible to always be going back home almost every weekend as at then, but where other social engagement did not allow me to go, and make sure that there was a structure that could give me that feedback, that communication between me and the people. Even when we had the PIA bill, even when we had there was this bill that was controversial, the water resources bill, I took it back to the people. I called the experts in those fields. I said, give me an input. I am not an expert here. Give me an input of what you think I would say, and then I would be gathering people in pockets, professionals who would advise and guide me on the stance I would take when I am making my contributions on this. So it's the level of awareness and consciousness that we will create. But we, the political class, don't want to create that consciousness because we want to perpetually hold the people down. Because when they are intelligible, when they are educated, when they are conscious, we find out that the table upon which we keep our food, which is on their back, will someday be thrown off if they have that consciousness.
Okay, so
okay, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to ask, do you think we have enough synergy between local government or local council officials and, say, state legislatives or even federal legislatives?
Let me use, I want to speak using my own case, for instance. When I was in the House of Assembly, I was in constant relation with my chairman and the councillors of my place. When I got to the National Assembly, I was also in constant communication. And when I say constant communication, not just informal communication, I mean formal communication, to a point that I found out that still part of this creating awareness and consciousness, getting the legislator to understand what their responsibility is. As a Speaker of the House of Assembly, I did a training for the 329 councillors in my state to bring that synergy. As a Speaker of the House of Assembly, I created days where the leaders of the Legislative Council will be coming to the House of Assembly to observe our sittings. And then that really helped. And when I got to the National Assembly, I still continue with that thinking. I brought 33 councillors. This is not counting what I did. I'm just using this as, this is not counting my achievement or blowing my trumpet.
More like empirical.
Just as maybe as a blueprint. I brought 33 councillors representing the 33 wards that constitute the 3 local governments that made up my federal constituency here to Abuja.
Wow.
All expenses paid, they flew.
Wow.
And then I brought them to Gotni, led by Linus Okorie, to be trained for a full week on leadership, entrepreneurship, development.
Right.
And then they got back, and since after then, they've been advocating. Fantastic. And I know that there are other persons too who are having an interaction. But some of those interactions might not occur in certain places because of political differences. And then you know that there's always this friction most times between the governors and members of the National Assembly in state. And so since the people in the local government are beholden to the governor. And so if a member of the House of Assembly is not in a good relationship or state with the governor, it's difficult for him to have that relationship with the grassroots. It's going to be like a fight. In short, the people that are going to be used as the warheads
when two elephants fight.
Yes, are going to be those people at the local level. So, but that should be, it is something that should be, because most of the things I brought forward during matters of urgent public importance that affected my communities at the National Assembly, that I brought up before the National Assembly for consultation, were things that in that interaction, I asked the councillor, if you see anything that happens, let me know. The chairman of the local government, if you see any challenge, let me know. For instance, I remember that we had a rupture in a gas pipeline passing through my place. Immediately, I was informed by the chairman of the local government. I was informed too by the councillor of that ward. And then the member of the House of Assembly then wrote a letter to me. And then I took that matter. I was not at home, so I wouldn't have known it. I didn't want to depend only on the news or what I saw on the social media. I needed fact and figures. So that synergy between myself and my office and the local government chairman and the councillor and the member of the House of Assembly gave me the full fact, gave me all that I needed, the evidence I needed to make that presentation, and that caused the I think the National Gas Company also to act immediately to forestall a crisis in that community.
We're beginning to wind down now. Let's talk about something not just that is controversial, but it's of public interest as well. It has whipped up debates for a long time. It has to do with the remuneration of legislators, especially at the federal level. One time, even the former senator, Shehu Sani, spoke to some of these issues on social media, even published what he said were was the pay of legislators at that time. Is it possible, is it the case that legislators are afraid to put out what they earn? After all, it's Nigerians who have, quote unquote, hired them and paid them. If I hire you, if I elect you, if I pay you by way of being a taxpayer in my country, is it not only natural that I should know what you earn? The legislators don't seem to be, they seem to be secretive about it. What are the dynamics in that regard?
I don't think they are secretive with it. I don't know what the legislators earn as of today. In our days, it was not a hidden thing.
Your days been in 2019?
Yeah, 2019. And the members came out and it was in the public domain what the legislator earned. Because there are two things we need to clarify, and this is me speaking from my heart. This is not just trying to paint picture. There is what we call what you earn, and there is the impress, or what we call the running cost, which is actually for you to use in administering that office. Everybody do have it.
More like an overhead or something?
More like an overhead. It consists a whole lot of things. Your ticket is there to where you are going to, and you are most times, the funding of oversight is from there. Why do I say most times? For instance, I was a chairman House Committee on Judiciary. I think throughout my years, for 4 years as a member of the Judiciary, as the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, I think I got approval for only 2 million naira. 2 million naira approval that it took me 1 year to even access the money for oversight of the entire judiciary in the country, the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, National Judicial Council, National Judicial Institute, Federal Judicial Service Commission, Body of Benchers, a whole lot, 2 million naira for 4 years. And so in such situation, where you have oversight, where you have to visit places, like I remember when we had to tour the country to see the formations of the Court of Appeal in this country, we toured the formations to see the National Industrial Court formations in this country so that we can know what we will advocate for and appropriate for in the subsequent year's budget. It is from this overhead. Otherwise, the only other source of funding that is the people you are going to perform the oversight on. And that has been a culture, that has been a tradition. And the question is, how do you expect the legislator to be independent, to hold the people who are funding their oversight trip to account? That has become a challenge. So without digressing from the question, the salary of a member was about 600 and something thousand, and I don't know what it is.
In your time?
In my time. And then, but when COVID came, we decided to part with about 200, I think about 200,000 as part of the National Assembly contribution towards the COVID
relief initiative.
Yes, initiative. Then the running cost per month was about 8.5 million. Running cost of every member as at then. Which, like I said, the travels, like I told you, like going to...
so many items bundled into it.
And so for instance, I said I regularly would go to Uyo, you understand? And then a ticket was about 100 and something.
Right.
And then, going and coming back. And then maybe going to other events. So that is not the earning of a honorable member.
So there's a whole lot of, if you like, misconception as
exactly,
to what...
Exactly. So we have to distinguish between the running costs. And there's something I want us to say here. Why I know that we hold the responsibility, we hold the mandate of the people.
Right.
They will criticize a member of the House of National Assembly has a Land Cruiser, and it becomes a topic of deliberation. But a minister will have 4 or 5 Land Cruisers plus Hilux, and we are not bringing that discourse. And so we are not discussing the earnings of a minister. We are not discussing even a DG of a parastatal has a Land Cruiser, maybe a backup vehicle for security, and a Hilux.
And nobody's talking about it.
And nobody's talking about it. So let us not keep putting the legislators on the cross and then meanwhile not holding others to account.
We need to continue to have this conversation. But it has been very amazing speaking with you, Barrister Nofioka Luke. In spite of your busy schedule, you made out time for this discussion. We do not take that for granted. That's what we're leaving the program today, everyone. Just to remind you that the views of our guests across all of our programs, including here on Global Morning, are their opinions. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe saying we appreciate you for your time with us.
And I'm Priscilla Obasi, wishing you a beautiful day ahead. Bye.